Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are so glad that you are here today. My name is Renee Marquez. I work in Future Wildcat Families here at the University of Arizona. I see some of our guests are still signing in. Today's coffee chat is all about study abroad, one of the most exciting and transformative opportunities available to your students during their time here at Arizona. So whether your student has the opportunities available, maybe they've already expressed interest in traveling abroad, or this is a brand new idea for your family. The goal today is just really to help you better understand what's possible throughout these next 4 years. So we know that parents and supporters that you play this great important role in helping your student navigate this college experience. And when it comes to study abroad, there are often a lot of questions about costs, timing, academics, safety. So today we're going to walk through a lot of those questions together, share some of these insights from our campus experts, and just really help you to get to know the whole program for study abroad and all the opportunities there are available to your students. So, here at the University of Arizona, we just really believe that the learning extends far beyond the classroom, and study abroad is really a powerful way for students to grow academically and professionally. So, let's go ahead and get started. Just want to remind you, in this coffee chat, you're logged into a Zoom webinar format. Your audio and visual have been disabled. Your chat box is also disabled. We can use it, however, to share important links with you from our teams. So if you see the chat box there, just know there could be important links going to that chat box. But please take your mouse and hover over the Q&A box. Leave that on. We encourage you to ask any questions in the Q&A throughout our session. So I just want to give a huge shout out to my colleagues behind the scenes who will be answering your questions this afternoon. This session will be recorded and placed on our website. So if you happen to not see the entire presentation, you will have access to the recording. So, I would love for you to meet some of our team in study abroad. Today, I would like to introduce you to Jacob Evis. He is the manager for recruitment at the Study Abroad office. Jacob, welcome, and thank you so much for being here to talk with our families. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me and my team here at Study Abroad. We're really excited to talk to everybody today about what we have going on here at the University of Arizona. We have so much going on, so many programs, so many opportunities. So we've got a lot of good information for you to get started. While I'm speaking on camera and answering questions, I've got two of my study abroad peer advisors working in the background. Answering the questions that you all are putting in the Q&A box. I've got Josiah Smith with us. He's one of our peer advisors. He did his study abroad in Athens, our UA Athens site, and is going on a second study abroad experience here coming up next fall to UA Florence. So a lot of great experience from Josiah. I also have with me today Jenna Arietta, who is soon to be graduating. We're going to miss her, but Jenna has been with us for a couple of years now as a study abroad peer advisor and did her study abroad in Rome at our Rome site. So the two of them are going to be answering your questions as they come in the back room. And thank you to them and also Renee to your team as well for hosting us. We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jacob. So, going ahead and getting started with your presentation here, can you tell us, Jacob, what do our students have to look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, just a world of opportunity, not to put too fine of a point on it. At the University of Arizona, everybody from the president on down is working hard to remove barriers and create access to study abroad. And so we are excited to talk with parents and family. We know that you're a huge part of helping your students figure out life here at U of A, but then also, figuring out something as monumental and life-changing as study abroad. And here at the University of Arizona, we do consider study abroad to be a high impact practice. The whole reason that this, study abroad exists is to help students achieve their dreams, both academically, personally, professionally. That's what we're here to do. Everything we do at Study Abroad is designed to keep your students on track to graduate. The entire process is built around the idea that students should still graduate in 4 years, if not earlier, while still taking part in a study abroad experience. Um, the credits that students are earning on study abroad are reviewed and designed to fulfill degree requirements. And all of this is worked out with us and your students' academic advisors ahead of time, so that your student will have, assurances before they leave the classes they take are going to be fulfilling the necessary degree requirements. Because it's really important to us that, study abroad is accessible both timeline wise and then also, financially. And I'll talk a little bit about finances in a couple of slides here. Um, but also, what we're really looking for is just to help your students become global citizens, right? To get out there and take advantage of the opportunity to see life through a different lens, to learn the things they're learning here, but from a different perspective. And then to come back and take all of those skills that they've developed, both the academic skills, but then those kind of personal soft skills, and springboard into the next step, maybe internships or research opportunities, or as they start to look at grad school, or the international job market. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to prepare your students for life after graduation, because we think study abroad helps in so many ways, as students are graduating and leaving the U of A. Um, this comes up all the time, so I like to just answer it up front. Who can study abroad? Every major can study abroad. So we get the question if we're out tabling, or, we've been going to admitted student day events lately. When we meet with students, the question is always, can I, as a X major or Y major, study abroad? And the answer is going to always be yes. We are open to all majors. What that looks like might just change slightly based on what the student's academic needs are. But we keep eligibility pretty simple here. You've got to be at least 18 years old. You've got to have finished your first year here at the U of A, which we generally measure by 30 credits completed. And so for the majority of students, that means their first study abroad opportunity is going to be that summer after their first year here. Um, we do recommend students go out sometime in their sophomore or junior year, but they can go in their senior year with the right planning. This is possible. Um, have to have a minimum 2.5 GPA, and then no holds, or disciplinary sanctions. So, some of our programs in our catalog might be slightly different than this. We have some programs where the GPA will be a little bit higher, but that's advertised on our website. Any program page will have that, but our baseline is going to be that 2.5. So we think it's a fair question, that students ask, can my major study abroad? The answer is going to be yes. But the better question, and the way we kind of frame it, is based on the locations that you're interested in going to, these are the academics available. How does this fit into your degree plan or into your 4 year plan here? So one thing that students can do right away as soon as they're here is talk with their academic advisors about how study abroad is going to fit inside that 4 year degree plan, because from our perspective, students are capable of taking anything that fulfills the requirement. So you can see on the screen, that means major credits, minor credits, foreign language credits, whether it's just kind of the baseline level that every major needs, or maybe your student is doing a language minor or has a language major. We can do that. We have internship programs overseas. We have research programs overseas, both for credit. And so these are fall in the category of what I kind of call study abroad plus, which I think are really cool things to take advantage of. But if we go early, we can take gen eds or elective credits. So anyway, all that to say is, academically speaking, study abroad provides a lot of opportunities to make sure your students stay on track with their 4 year plans, whether they're just a major or a major and a minor, dual majors. This is our process, for any student that comes through the door. And you'll see we don't have any prior language requirements for any of for the majority of our program. Some of our programs, especially if they're language ones, they may have some sort of prior language. If that program is going to be a high level, we want to make sure the students are where they need to be. But the majority of our programs have no prior language requirement because all those courses are taught in English. And to the credit piece, I'm seeing a couple of questions come in about this. So again, it's the both the GPA and the credits, right? So yeah, you might come in having 30 credits already, but you don't have a U of A GPA, and you won't have that GPA in time to apply for, say, second semester, first year. We would still be looking at summer to be that first opportunity. So it's both the combination of sophomore standing and that U of A GPA, unless you are a transfer student. So not dual credit, not AP, but if you are coming from a community college, in that case, we can look to use the community college GPA and those credits to fulfill any of those requirements that we need. So hopefully that helps with the credit stuff there. When it comes to timing, um, this will be the number one piece of advice I hope you all walk away with to give your students. Study abroad takes planning. There, it just is not something you can show up last minute and hope to, hop on a trip. We really encourage students to be putting in the effort so that they're lining up the best program for them personally, a destination they want to go to, a place they've always dreamed about with good academics. Because if students wait too long, if they wait till the, end of their junior year or senior year, their academic needs to graduate on time are going to be pretty limited. They'll have fewer credits left. Whereas if they start planning in their first year, which is what we really recommend, you can maximize the options so that when you come talk to us and say, these are my academic needs, which programs will provide those, we can just provide a bigger list of opportunities. So timing is very important, and we really encourage students to, be putting in the work over that first year to really plan out their study abroad experience in their sophomore, junior, or senior year. And then for duration, how long? We've got a lot of great options, everything from 1 year, I'm sorry, 1 week up to 1 year. So, our most popular options are summer programs, which range anywhere from 3 weeks out to 10 weeks. We have both fall and spring semester programs. They roughly match the same amount of time as our semesters, though the calendar may be slightly different, but we'll work with students to make sure they understand that. And then what I think is really cool, we also have programs going out over the break, so over spring break and winter break as well. So if your student isn't, ready to take a big leap and go out for like a full year or a semester, we have great options that kind of get them started, try study abroad, see if this is going to be something they enjoy. And they can always go again. One of the other things that we encourage is students to put in the time planning, then they can do multiple trips. They could do something like a summer program and a semester program, multiple summer programs, or even multiple semester programs. This is all possible with the right planning. And then affordability. So I know this is a big one when we talk to students all the time. They're always asking about the cost. There is that sort of assumption that study abroad is going to be expensive. But here at the University of Arizona, we're really working hard to make study abroad affordable and accessible to any student that wants to participate. And so, a couple of things to note when you're going on study abroad, we're just charging U of A tuition. Now, for the semesters, what that means is that the majority, if not all, of your scholarship money that you have to be here, merit scholarships, things like Arizona Wildcat or Wildcat Excellence or Arizona Distinction Awards, or, there's a big list of them. And any FAFSA aid, grants, loans, stuff like that is going to still disperse. So students can use that when they're on study abroad, in addition to applying for study abroad scholarship opportunities. Ones from our office. You can see some of the awards that we have right now. We've got a bunch of them. You can see, we encourage students to check in with their department or their college. They might have some study abroad specific scholarships. And then we can help students identify external scholarships as well. There's two big ones that we always recommend. Gilman Scholarship. If you're a Pell Grant eligible student, you qualify to apply for Gilman, which can be really good funding. It's up to $5,000 for study abroad, and then also Fund for Education Abroad, two big ones. But this is also what we're here to help. We're not just here to help find the program, but also to find the funding and the scholarships. Though what we recommend is that students are looking at the scholarship picture at the same time that they're looking at where they want to go and study abroad. What we see all the time is that students will apply to study abroad, wait till they're accepted, and then start to look at scholarships, start to figure out the finance piece, and that can be too late. So we really recommend that students are planning the financial side at the same time that they're planning the location side. And this is all kind of happening in tandem so that students aren't missing out on funding opportunities because they waited too late. So we really do, again, our plans, there's going to be more scholarship opportunities, which is going to make study abroad more affordable for you. But that is, again, what we're here to help with, what your department is here to help with. And then, we really will recommend that you connect with the financial aid office to understand both how your existing financial aid package will apply during study abroad, and then what other options may be available to get extra funding. Because the answer to the question, how much money should I have saved up for study abroad, is always going to be as much as you possibly can. We want to make sure that you can say yes to all sorts of experiences that are going to pop up for you when you're on study abroad. And the best way to prepare for that is just, have as much scholarship money as you have, save up as much money as you can um, to make that happen. Oh, and then I should say, just kind of the nature of some of the questions I see coming in. Um, when it comes to those costs, what I'm talking about is the tuition piece. So there will still be your cost of living, your housing, your meals, your travel. That's going to vary widely based on where you go, what you do. But no, we don't book flights for our programs except for I think maybe one or two incorporate that. But yeah, what I'm talking about is the tuition piece. The great thing is in our study abroad catalog, if you look at any of our programs, there's going to be a cost sheet for that program specifically. And it's going to show you two things: the items we're going to charge to the Bursars account, and then the items that'll be expected to pay out of pocket. So basically, your fixed costs and your variable costs will be advertised on the program page in our catalog online for any particular program. And then back to the scholarship funding, one great thing that's happening here at the U of A is we received a generous gift from the Garcia Family Foundation last year that is providing up to $7,000 per student in funding to support study abroad opportunities. Now, not every student is going to get 7,000. It's going to be based on what the student needs to kind of fill in those last dollars or fill in that kind of gap funding. But this can be really good life-changing money for students. And really, all you have to do is apply to study abroad. For any of the scholarships coming out of our office, there's no separate application. You apply to go on the study abroad program you want to go on, and you will be automatically reviewed and considered for any of our scholarships that come in. And so you can't apply for these ahead of time. You will apply for these as you apply for study abroad because there's no separate application. There's just a small form within your study abroad application that you work on to help identify which scholarships you may qualify for.
Jacob, can I interrupt you
Yeah,
for a second?
absolutely.
And I don't want to get ahead of you, but there's a good question in the chat. When a student does study abroad, is the tuition like a out-of-state tuition since it is abroad, or how does that tuition work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the way it works is we just bill the student's normal U of A tuition. So, in general terms, how you can think of this is whatever a student would expect to pay for a semester here in Tucson, it's going to be the same tuition piece for when they go abroad. So if they're an in-state student, they pay their in-state tuition. If they're an out-of-state student, they pay their out-of-state tuition. And again, if it's during the semester where they can, access all of their existing aid, then it's going to be their semester tuition rate minus whatever aid they already have, and then minus whatever study abroad scholarships they have. Now, in the summer, the tuition piece varies slightly. It's a per credit rate. Each student has a specific, summer tuition rate that they pay, that's what we're going to be charging. So the tuition remains exactly the same as a student would expect to be here on campus.
Thank you, Jacob.
One thing I wanted to highlight for our audience today, and this is one of the big things that we are going to help students figure out, is what kind of experience they want based on our five category types. So, what you see here on the screen are the different types of programs that we operate here at the University of Arizona. Um, the names don't mean a lot, but it's really more about the experience that the students are going to face as they apply and then when they participate in these programs. So on the left side there, we have our three big ones. So Arizona Abroad, faculty-led exchange. Arizona Abroad are our kind of traditional semester summer programs. They are class experience at partner schools overseas. These are not U of A owned buildings or properties. Um, but what's really great about the Arizona Broad locations is we have unlimited capacity on those programs. So there's no competition to secure a spot when students go. And then the other great thing is it has helped us to pre-map the transfer credit so that students know ahead of time with their academic advisor the kinds of classes they can take and how they would be approved when they transfer back to the U of A. So just really helps make the planning process, especially with the academic piece, very straightforward. With our faculty-led program, these are kind of like it sounds. It's a U of A professor who takes a group of students overseas. So it's almost like they teach the class they would teach here in Tucson, but they teach it in Europe or Asia or wherever. And I really like these programs because they're a lot more hands-on and a lot less classroom time. It's a little bit more about being an immersive experience, kind of using the location as the classroom. So think visiting more museums or sites or engaging with, um, companies or, other event like things to teach that class rather than just being in a classroom somewhere overseas. I also like the faculty led, especially if your student is going to be a first time traveler. These are kind of like the good entry level ones, I would say. Um, they're a little bit more, they feel a little bit more supportive just because of the fact that a U of A faculty member is traveling with the students during the trip. Not to say that any of our other programs are any less supported. Everything we do is fully supported both here and overseas. There's nothing in our catalog about kicking your student out the door and saying, good luck, we'll see you in 4 months. We are here to help for the entire process and connect those students with our partners overseas. But the faculty led do seem to work really well if you're a first time international traveler. And then we have our exchange program. These are if you're kind of a little older, maybe you did study abroad back in the day. These were kind of the more traditional models. They are competitive though because we have limited spots each semester. So those will be filled on a first come first served basis. Um, but everything else kind of falls under the same. It's still pre-approved. We get the credits pre-approved before they go, so we know they're going to stay on track to graduate. But these will be kind of the more, feeling like you're amongst locals programs. In the classes that you're in, you're going to be probably with the majority of local students rather than other international students or other American students. And then on the right side are what I call our study abroad plus programs, internships, research, and field studies. I like these because this is about doing the work. And what I tell students all the time is this is how you find out if you even want to do the thing that you're studying to do. It's also how you start to build your professional profile and kind of do a little bit of work on that experience gap that we know everybody faces when they graduate college and start to apply for entry level jobs that have a year's experience requirement, right? And how do you do that if you've been a full-time student? Well, internships, research, and field studies is a great way to fill in that gap. And we've got a ton of options for that. Now, I will note where the internships, they are for credit, they are not paid. So these are for credit programs where you're still earning credit to fulfill your degree requirements. But it is a custom placement process. It's not getting stuck in some random company to fetch coffee. it's about getting into the industry that you really want to work in.
Jacob, you mentioned that Josiah, who's helping us in the Q&A, that this is his second time this year, right, going study abroad. So there's a question in the chat. Can a student go more than once under this program? I'm assuming under this study abroad program.
Yeah, so students can absolutely go twice. Yep, Josiah went last, like a year ago, I think, and then he's going out this fall. We even have a scholarship specific for students going on their second study abroad experience. And again, going on your second one, we are operating under the same framework that we would be for the first time. Making sure this keeps students on track to graduate on time, fitting within the budget that they need. Still paying their U of A tuition. Um, but absolutely, students can go multiple times. The study abroad office is actually pretty neutral on a lot of the decisions that students will make when it comes to their study abroad experiences. What we're here to do is to guide and make sure that students are finding the right programs that fit all of their needs, academic, professional, personal.
Jacob, you've given us so much great information just to kind of open this subject up for our
Yeah.
family. But so if a brand new student is coming to our campus and they're thinking in the forefront, I want to do study abroad, I really want to do it, what would you suggest the very first step be for them? Would you suggest they come to your office, maybe talk to their advisor? Can you kind of remind us what would that first planning step be for them?
Yeah, it's a great question. Honestly, I would tell students just start anywhere you can, right? But what we recommend is talking with your academic advisor first. You're going to have to meet with them anyway. It's part of the process. But really understanding your 4-year degree plan. Every major has a 4-year plan. It kind of lays it out. I'm going to take these classes in this order, and I'm going to get my degree in 4 years. Within that, there's some variability of what that is. We see huge variability in what gen eds are that each student will take. Each major will have different requirements. So understanding that, the other thing that why it's good to meet with them first is you understand any limitations based on your major. Um, so, for example, architecture majors, they have a 5-year degree plan. It's 5 years to get that bachelor's in architecture. And what we have found is that fifth year is all studio courses. And we have a really hard time finding anything like that would be useful to those students at that time. So essentially, that fifth year is kind of off limits to us for study abroad because we can't serve the students academically and keep them on track to graduate. Now, that's not coming from the study abroad office. That's just a nature of the degree. We see this with our students in the Eller College of Business as well. Most Eller students prefer to go out second semester junior year because that's when they get into their professional program over at Eller. And they can't go out in that first term of their professional program. And so naturally, that second semester junior year looks like a really good opportunity for them to go. And that's what Eller advises students to think about. Um, so anything like that, we won't necessarily know. And so it's good for students to meet with their academic advisor first to understand all of that information, then bring that to us. What classes do you need? What programs are you interested, like what locations are you interested in going to? And are there any specific considerations we need to take into account based on your major or your department? And then coming and chatting with us. Now, one of the nice things is our office is located near where a big chunk of the freshmen live on campus. So we're right here in the Global Center on Park Avenue. We're right by all the major freshman dorms like Coronado. And so, your students will probably be coming over to the Global Center to get food. We serve as a union, but our offices are right here, and they can come by and chat with us anytime about study abroad.
You are super knowledgeable. I know you've been all over the world yourself, but can you tell us what are the most popular destinations? Are there some that are more popular than others?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Right now Europe is just hugely popular in general as a region. Italy and Spain tend to compete for the 1 and 2 spot, and that kind of mirrors what the data says for study abroad in the U.S. overall. Those are very popular destinations for all American students going. Um, but we see a lot of interest still in Japan and South Korea. Where I went in Australia is decently popular. It's not as popular as it used to be, but it's usually still there in like a top five list. So yeah, I think those would kind of cover it, but again, Italy, Spain, those are the big destinations. France usually in a close third, I would say. And then Australia and England tend to compete for a spot, and then Japan and Korea tend to compete for a spot as well.
They all sound amazing. Jacob, so if a student is to walk into your office, can they get help with their questions right away, or is it like by appointment?
Yeah, no, we try to be just as accessible as we possibly can, especially my team of study abroad peer advisors. So this is a group of students that have been on study abroad, like Josiah and Jenna, who are answering questions. And they've been on study abroad in the last year or so. And we do drop-in advising. Actually, I think Renee, if you go to my next slide, I've got my all of our contact info there. I believe that's my next one. Yeah, there we go. So we do drop-in advising every semester, usually in the afternoons. I think that'll probably be what we do moving forward, but we change it changes every semester. We do it by appointments, and we do both of those either in person here at the Global Center or we do them online via Zoom. So they can email us. You see our email there, studyabroad@arizona.edu. And if you snag that QR code, you can start connecting with us as well. And I will say to the audience today, we welcome parents and family members to, come to appointments with your students. If you have questions about what study abroad is going to look like, we welcome you to come chat with us. Obviously, we're still beholden to FERPA and student privacy laws, but we get students bringing their parents along to their drop in or appointments with us all the time, and we love to chat with parents. So please reach out to us if you have any questions at all.
Um, we have all of our families are here on the chat today. And Jacob, I have a very important question. Being a
Yeah.
mom myself, how does the university support students in emergencies? If something was to go wrong while they're studying abroad, how do they get support?
Yeah, that is a really good question. We what we see is that study abroad is a very safe endeavor overall. That's what the data shows. But we know parents are worried about their kids specifically. So, being involved in this process, I think will help. I think that goes a long ways. We sort of see the same thing that I think a lot of departments across campus see. It's a little bit of game of telephone where we tell the students something and then they tell you the parents, and it may not, fill in all of the gaps in knowledge. So again, we welcome you to reach out if that's the case. Um, to prepare students, so we do pre-departure orientation for any student that's going overseas. Once they're accepted into their program, they're set to go. Their study abroad advisor will enroll them in an online pre-departure component, and then there's usually some sort of in-person component too. To prepare them for the travel, the safety, the health, all of that, all the little ins and outs that come in, traveling, living, learning overseas. Then the other great thing is, for the majority of programs, actually for all the programs, there will be an on-site orientation as well, either from our partners or with our faculty when you get there. And so those people will have the on-ground information as well, be giving those to students. Two last things. We have an entire travel and safety team here on this campus dedicated to monitoring anybody associated with the university who's traveling at any given time, knowing where they're at, knowing what they, where they're, what's going on in those locations, and then, making the call if we need to get students out of that location if it's become unsafe. But we don't send students to unsafe locations. We only send them to countries listed as safe, so these are levels 1 and 2 with the U.S. State Department. Um, and then the last thing that we do is every student is required to enroll in our mandatory international health insurance plan. It's automatically charged to their student account. It covers them, starting the day before their program starts and the day after their program ends. And it helps cover anything that could possibly come up. So we do a lot to make sure that students stay safe and stay healthy throughout their time on study abroad.
So good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Really quickly, Jacob, the QR code, does that go directly to your website? It looks like it's disabled.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I'm really sorry about that. Yeah, let me snag the link for where that goes. That goes to our How to Study Abroad page, which I think can be a really helpful resource. So let me grab that real quick and I'll put it in the chat. I do apologize.
Sure, no problem. What I can do is go to our next slide really quickly. And if you've been on a coffee chat before, you've kind of heard a little bit about this, but we are coming down to our coffee chat season with moving your student to Arizona. I know there is a little mention in the chat of where do you store stuff. Well, fun fact, one of our parents who will be on does have this a great place where she stores her stuff for her student during the summer. So we will be sharing that information in moving your student to Arizona. We will also be talking with the Salt Center. We added April 21st, the Salt Center, because we were just getting some interest about what it is. So, SALT stands for Strategic Alternative Learning Techniques. It is a specialized support program for students with learning and attention differences, such as ADHD and more. They do provide services for all students. And the reason I say this is because they provide personalized support. They do time management, which I have a junior in high school, and he could definitely use support, like time management. When it comes from transitioning from high school to college, that is one of the number one things that students have to learn very quickly. The SALT Center can help with that. They help with building study strategies, really building those study habits. Um, and then just really giving them the skills, leading them to that next step, leading them to succeed independently in college and really throughout the rest of their lives. So it is really a great resource, especially for peace of mind for us as parents and family members. And what's cool about the SALT Center Coffee Chat is that they're briefly going to touch on our Disability Resource Center as well. So that is just an interesting session just to learn more about. If you're interested in any of those, you can scan the QR code to register, or if you've missed any of our past coffee chats, we do have the recordings listed on our website as well. We got the QR link. Oh yeah, you have it. So Jacob dropped in the chat the link to the QR code on his webpage. So everyone has access to that.
And Renee, I was just while you were chatting, I was just reviewing some of the questions and answers. And two things I wanted to clear up. So I saw at least one, maybe two about our global track. So the thing to note about a global track is that is a department recommendation for where a student in a particular major should think about studying abroad. So it's not a study abroad program itself. You can think of it as the major or the department's recommendation for where students look to study abroad. Now, we'll never force a student to do a global track if that destination is not where they're interested in going, but they should know that the academics there have been reviewed by the department and it matches up very well. And so, don't think of it as the only place to go. Think of it as a department's recommendation. Now, if you don't see a global track for your major, that also does not mean you can't participate in study abroad. It just means that your department has yet to make a recommendation other than go on study abroad, and then they'll usually send those students our way and we'll help figure out what's going to work best. And then for the housing, I know this comes up a lot, and I just wanted to touch on a couple of things about housing. So, one, every program has a housing option. Some of them have multiple housing options. It'll be listed on the program page for any program in our catalog. If you look about the program, it'll talk about housing. A good chunk of them, actually, probably the majority of them, the students have to use the housing that is provided. The budget sheet will tell you if the housing cost is going to be charged to their bursars account here or if they're expected to pay out of pocket over there, but they are never double billed. So it's not like you're going to be charged here on your bursar's account and then get there and be expected to pay rent as well. Um, and we have a lot of different kinds of options, though most of them usually fall into either on campus dorm style housing, student apartment housing, which tends to be right on the edge of campus or just off campus. And then we do have homestay options as well for some of our programs where they can live with local families. Um, so it will vary based on program what that housing looks like, but students will know before they leave what that housing is, where they're going to be. Yeah.
Wonderful. Such fun information. Such a great opportunity. I think we can wrap up our conversation today. Our questions are slowing down in the chat. But really, as we begin to wrap up today's session and just really reflect on this great information that Jacob and his team has shared with us, study abroad, just know that it's not just a possibility, not just an opportunity. It really is accessible. It's a supported program and really meaningful part of the Wildcat experience. So, whether your student chooses to go abroad for a few weeks, Jacob, you said it, or an entire semester, these experiences have lasting impacts. They give them that global perspective that will really serve them long after graduation. So, as families, as parents and families, your encouragement to your students and your support really do make a big difference. So, simply just being open to the idea that and starting these conversations early can really just help your students see what's possible out there for them. So, Jacob and his team, they're here for you every step of the way to both help support both you and your students. So if you all decide to come in and talk to them together as a family, they really welcome that. So we are thankful that you decided to spend part of your day with us today. Thank you for being here. Really want you to enjoy your evening. Thank you for your kind words in the chat. I see them here. But we hope to see you back on Thursday for moving your student to Arizona. If you have any questions for our enrollment management team, this is our email address, futurefamily@arizona.edu. But until then, thank you so much for our partnership. Jacob, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Renee. My pleasure.
Bye bye.